All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura O'Connor, and I'm CFMA's Membership Director. I want to thank you for joining us today for the October Member Benefits Series meeting, where you'll learn how to leverage AI in contract review from our two newest Affinity partners, Crowe Contract Manager for Construction and First Rule Contract Training. With us today from Crowe Contract Manager for Construction, we have Rhonda Huseman, and from First Rule Contract Training, we have Elliot Wagenheim. They're going to walk us through how Crowe's Contract Manager for Construction can help your company optimize profits, lower risk, and increase retention for your most valuable employees. If you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll either get to them there or we'll have a Q&A at the end. Now I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda for the presentation.
Great. Thanks, Laura. And thank you all for tuning in today and learning more about how we are working to improve the future of contract management with our Crowe Contract Manager for Construction solution. As Laura mentioned, I am with Crowe. I am the lead technology partner in our construction practice, and I'm actually a lifer at Crowe. I've been with Crowe for over 26 years, all of which I've spent in the construction industry. So love this industry, love CFMA. I've actually been a member of CFMA since 1999, so pretty much a lifer with CFMA as well. And so excited to be Affinity partner and offering discounts through the programs that they offer. So as we get started here, I bring up my background because as we started off, most of my time has not been on the technology side of the house. We have had a technology arm of our firm and many externally facing licensable software solutions for many, many, many years, pre-Y2K. However, I spent most of my career on the audit and tax side of things, primarily in the tax group. And so I'm a recovering tax partner. And so I really set out to solve this issue that I felt there was this pain around contract management, and saw an opportunity to really help companies create better contracts. I'm on an autoplay. I'm not certain what is happening with this. Sorry about that. Elliot, any clue on what I'm doing wrong here in terms of my auto playing of my presentation?
I can't see it, but I think if you just go to slideshow and from the beginning, you can probably start and do it manually.
If not, I may have you pull it up and drive, but it seems like I've gotten it under control. So sorry about that all. I just saw things rolling through as I was not forwarding through them. So, so as I was saying, sought out to really help companies to create better contracts, smarter teams, and stronger organizations, and really bring transparency and integrity to the process of contracts review, negotiation, and management. And coming from the service side of the business, we approach our technology much in the same way as we do creating relationships there. And so, rolling up our sleeves, sitting down and really understanding the issues facing the folks that are living, all of you that are living and breathing these issues, versus assuming what's needed. And so we did the same thing. It's a very human-centered approach that we took to this technology. And I'm going to be sharing with you, we had a AI solution that really was the heart of the solution. And that's what started the idea for me, was the AI. However, as we really worked to build out the solution, we had different innovation sessions with folks across various sizes and sectors of the industry, and worked very closely with a group of beta users throughout the last year and a half as we developed the solution before ever bringing anything into the market. And that was really telling. And as I get into the different features, that beta users actually brought us in a much, much different direction than we originally thought that we were going to go, and built out a much more robust solution. But as I mentioned, it really started with AI. And so this AI solution that we have is Crowe Intelligent Document Analyzer, and we often refer to it as CIDA. So CIDA was built a proprietary solution. We have about 150 data scientists internally at Crowe. And about 5 to 6 years ago, they began training the AI to read documents. And at that point, it was reading loan obligations, leases, and whatnot. And it was about 3.5 years ago that they were looking to expand the use case. And I just happened to be working on some projects at the time that really had me much more in tune to really the pains of the industry around contract review. And raised my hand and said, hey, can we test this to see if the CETA tool could read construction contracts? And so pretty quickly, after many late nights and lots of coffee of running several 100-page documents through the system myself, and really starting to understand firsthand the pains that you all face in contract review, determined that yes, we could in fact train the AI for construction. And at that point is when we engaged Elliot and his team to really help build out the AI and the 101 terms that the construction specific terms that the AI can now identify in contract documents. And so what's involved in that? So that means hundreds of different examples that the system needs to understand patterns. And so the system, CETA uses both OCR, which is optical character recognition. That's basically how AI translates a Word or a PDF into machine readable format, and natural language processing. And so natural language processing is where the AI actually starts to learn these patterns. And so the key is that you need to give it a lot of variety, as much variety as you can. So we fed through any number of different versions of the same term. So for force majeure, how many different ways can you say that? And it's countless. And so we were using not just standard AIA or standard consensus or modified AIA or modified consensus, but home-baked contracts as well. And so going through that process of just refining those terms in the system. And so it's not a mere word search. Maybe you've seen other document reading solutions that use AI. Similar technology is really what's being used today for document reading is OCR and natural language processing are really at the foundation of that. And so what you see here on the screen is a screenshot of CETA. And we actually put the users interfacing directly with the AI. And so there's other AI solutions where you get more of the output. We feel like responsible, as part of responsible use of AI, there's several things that go into responsible use of AI. And one is really keeping the user in the loop. And so no AI is perfect today. And so it's not meant to replace you. And so I hope that doesn't disappoint anybody on the call, that you thought that you were going to tune in and find out how to never again have to read a contract. Unfortunately, I'm not offering that, and I am offering just the opposite. As you are still important in the process of contract review and negotiation. It's just these tools really can expedite and help you. I know that from my own experience, the fatigue that you get in reviewing documents is real. And so the machine doesn't fatigue like we do. It can process these documents very, very quickly. Within minutes, it can spit out, a couple of 100-page document and identify those 101 terms. So it's important that we keep the user in the loop. The other thing I do want to mention, just as a quick aside, when I'm talking about responsible use of AI, things are now readily available in the market. If you've been, I'm sure you all have heard of ChatGPT, and I've actually would be remiss if I don't take the opportunity, because I heard of somebody recently say that they had run an actual contract, a construction contract, through ChatGPT. Please don't do that. That is not responsible use of AI. You are putting that contract out into public domain, and any sort of confidentiality that was involved, that contract is now out the window. So please do not do that. But we definitely do everything we can to stress that responsible use of AI. Now, for us, that's meant putting you in the driver's seat with the solution firsthand. And we've given different tools. So what you're seeing here on the right side is the actual document, scrollable, It's a scrollable document, and the highlighted areas are the areas within that document that have identified, the AI has identified, relate to a particular term. And that's where these cards on the left side come into play. And so here you've got a couple cards for force majeure, and those correlate to different areas within the contract. And so the user with our solution goes in, reviews these cards, scans through these. If there is an error in the AI, or if there's something that was missed, it's merely a quick highlighting of things in the document and adding a card for that. By putting the user directly interfacing with the AI solution, it helps with that continuous learning loop. So the more that the solution is used and seen different examples beyond what we've actually shown it, and just to be clear, it does learn patterns, and so it does do very good. It doesn't need to see every iteration, but if there's something completely so off the radar that it misses it, then that is something that you can add. In addition, we're always interested in adding new terms. And so you might find something that is new in this contract that might be a new issue in the industry. And then it allows us to actually start the training and refining of those terms. So our users really drive adding of those terms, which is hence why we're at 101 terms right now. So in addition, we've added into the system some different views, and so you can sort by category. And so, for example, we're looking here, the insurance and bonding is expanded. And so regardless of where these terms show up in your document, you can view all of a particular topic together. Same goes for indemnification. Indemnification is a really big issue, and you might have a main indemnification clause that might be on page 13, but there might be 6 other areas throughout the document where there is a reference, an important reference to indemnification that you may otherwise miss. And this allows you to really bring all of those related terms together, so that when you're starting to experience that fatigue I mentioned, then you're not questioning, well, what did I see? You can actually sort them and see them all in one spot. The other thing that we feel is something that creates a really nice backdrop to a review is being able to show not only what was found in the contract, but also what was missing. And so we allow you some quick tools to be able to sort and find under each category which terms were actually missing. And so, so if these terms are something of particular importance to you, so waiver of consequential damages was not present in the contract, that's something that you can then, go through and actually search. We allow you to actually search the document and scroll through and see if you want to just double check that wasn't something missing. And so it gives you some additional things so that you never have a question of whether, what's in or what's out of the contract as well. So again, this is really where we started, was with the AI, and this was really the heart of the product. But as we started getting this out there in front of folks and really started talking about what the needs were and the pains were, we quickly found that, hey, the AI is great. And, giving me this document certainly could help me to speed up my review if I know exactly where the items that I'm concerned about are. But what do I do from there? I still have to understand what's in the contract. So is there some educational elements? We've got some things to address that. How do I know what risk this causes for me? How do I know if there's state requirements related to these things? How am I storing my contracts to ensure that I can have easy access across all my team members that need it, including after execution of a document, that my project managers have access and access to all that information I just mentioned as well. So where we ended up in the end is really a contract lifecycle management solution that takes you through these steps from project setup all the way to closeout. And it's designed specifically for the construction industry. So a lot of contract lifecycle management solutions are built for attorneys and use different phases that are not your normal lingo in the industry. And so we really sought out to build this out in a way that folks from across your organization could slot into these different stages and have it make sense in terms of where they're at in the process and what tasks still needed to happen. We built this on Microsoft. It is a Microsoft Power application. And what that means is that you really were leveraging the solid foundation that Microsoft brings. And it's also a very, very familiar setting. And so I think most companies are familiar with Microsoft and the navigation within Microsoft. And so it really does lead to an intuitive process and walking through things for your team and onboarding. We do have different templates or loads for each type of contractor. So if you generally are a general contractor or a design builder or a specialty subcontractor, maybe heavy highway, AE, we do have different templates and different parameters that we load into the system for you that are designed specifically for your type of business. But the Microsoft and having this be something that's really customized for your company. This resides in your setting. So you have your own Microsoft application, your own secure Azure environment, and you own all of the data. And so it's configurable, it's customizable to you and what's important to your team. Very analytics capable. Plugins like Power BI are very easy and readily available within the Microsoft environment. It's also subscription based, and we made a conscious decision in terms of our subscription. It's an annual subscription, unlimited users, unlimited projects and unlimited contracts, and it is tiered by the size of company that you are and the general approximate number of documents that you're working with during the year. And then for Affinity members, you do get a 10% discount on that as well. So, and it can be plugged in and connected to other systems that you have. Common API connections that we see are with CRM, project management, and ERP solutions. And so anywhere there's an open API available, we are able to make those connections to really help make it really robust analytics. And since you own this data, the analytic, and especially when you get into connecting to other systems, the analytics are really quite powerful in terms of what you can gather. So they mentioned we walk you through these different stages. And so the first feature I wanted to share is the go, no go analysis. And so if you're not doing a go, no go analysis as a company, I highly recommend that. I think that it's a very easy risk management function that you can add in. And I say risk management because I think it really helps you to gather and document information in terms of the risks that your organization is currently taking on and how much it has with current projects as well as the projects that it's assessing. And let's face it, there is more work out there today than there is enough to do, right? You have to be selective. And so if you put in a process that allows you to make some good decisions on which projects to go forward with, it's really a best practice. And so I know a lot of companies have go, no go. Some of them, it's just conversations. We wanted to make it very, very quick. So it literally takes just a few minutes for folks to go through this analysis. Now I'll tell you that upon implementation, when we're doing those customizations, we're setting this up to be for your company. You sit down, you tell us exactly related to each of these items in the project setup form, what the risk is related to that. And so this is anywhere from the types of risk that you might have in a relationship or the type of project that it is. And we'll get into this a little bit more in a moment, but all of that is loaded before you ever put your first project in here. And the reason is that we want it to be really quick. Nobody to have to think about numbers. Nobody have to think about scoring anything. They're merely answering some quick questions. That will then drive a score. And so if you think about the project risk score, this is all the things that are inherent in the project itself. What things create risk there? We also layer into that then the contract risk score. And if you are able to get an early version of a contract, you can score this at a stage which we call triage. And so before you've ever bid, if you're making that go, no go decision, you might have 5 to 10 deal breaker type issues that you want the AI to scan. Not all 101, don't want to deal with that yet. But 5 to 10 topics that if we can't negotiate around these items, then we better not even bid. And so it allows you to identify some of those things in your bid process if you find those, or not to move forward at all. But these two things really work together if you think about it. So if you're looking at just your contract and deciding what to negotiate, what to accept, what are deal breakers, without considering those things that are inherent in the project, and those could be positive factors. You know, maybe it's a great relationship, maybe the schedule is perfect, there's a high profit potential, supply chain is not going to be an issue, it's like, you know, a total gem of a job here, then maybe you're willing to take on some more risk in that contract. But you know, if it's just the opposite of that, then maybe you need to really consider some of those terms a little harder in the contract, and whether you're willing to take some of those things on. And so we take a holistic look at that and give you the ability to really make these decisions in that go, no go stage, and really to keep an eye on that for analytics down the road as well. So I've already mentioned a number of these items here, in terms of what goes into this, this scoring, but it really is customized again in terms of what's important to you. Strategic plan, does this project align with my strategic plan? Some companies very important, others just don't even want to assign a risk to that at all. And so those are the type of things, but there's other things that are consistent. If you're going into a new state, especially, there's some states, if it's California or New York or some of the ones that are known to be a little tougher to go into, maybe that even needs to be routed. And this allows tasks to be preset so that, hey, if we're going into a new state, I want it rerouted to me as the financial manager so I can address those things right up front before it gets too late in the bid process to do that. And then those things can affect your risk scoring as well. So you can set different folks to approve the go, no go decision, and really it allows you, let's be honest, this isn't going to make a decision for you. The machine is not going to make this decision. There's still business decisions to be had. It just allows you to capture and notify folks down the road, whether it even be your project manager, that, hey, these were some issues that we were concerned about at each of these stages of risk, and things to keep an eye out for. So the system was also built to collaborate. And so oftentimes we are hearing that we want all of these different individuals to weigh in. We want finance to be the ones reviewing pay if paid, or payment terms, or retainage, any of those things. But trying to get through all the folks, even with a shared document, can be challenging to version control and whatnot. So what you're seeing here is a dashboard where different terms and different tasks can be assigned automatically, so that anytime a contract comes through and is ready for review, that it gets routed to the individuals that it needs to get routed to. You can also assign things to external advisors, whether it be an external counsel or insurance folks. You can invite them through a portal. I'll share with you that portal just a moment. But anywhere you see a check here, means that there was a term present that came through from CETA, and it also color codes things so you can easily sort out those items that are highest risk and really make sure that you're addressing those issues versus those that are green, which are a lower risk and might not spend as much time on. Another pain that we identified, and we really with the AI had the ability to address, was I may have different contract terms that may address the same thing. And an example that we have here is warranty requirements. So with warranty requirements, if I have 3 different documents in this example, so I have my general conditions document, which happens to be from my prime. In this scenario, I'm the subcontractor, and so this is my document here. Apologize for, I don't want to take a minute to figure out my thing, so I apologize for the flipping back and forth. But I've got my general conditions, and these 2 documents make up my prime as well as my subcontractor agreement. And if you're a subcontractor, I hope you're getting the prime agreement, but I understand that's a whole nother document to read if you get that, right? Oftentimes hundreds of pages long. And so all you do, send that through the AI as well. Mark it as a connected document. So this isn't something that you're going to actually necessarily execute. The prime, it's not your document to sign, but it has important information that you need to review. No longer you're going to be sorting between pages or flipping through pages in a document and trying to find those areas and line them up. regardless of the page that this is on, these could be on very different pages throughout these documents. It aligns it all up, makes it super easy to address those issues, as well as document if there's something needs to be able to change in that contract. So then we get to an extremely important part of the process, and I'm actually going to invite our contract coach to talk about our educational elements. So Elliot, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Rhonda. So basically, in my experience, I've been a construction lawyer for about 35 years now, and I review contracts for all sorts of trades, general contractors, subcontractors, et cetera. And no matter the size of company, no matter whether they have in-house counsel or not, a lot of times in my experience, the negotiation review of contracts, let alone individual terms, comes down to non-lawyers. So not only does the solution streamline the contract review process when you do have lawyers, external or internal, but for non-lawyers, it really acts as a training tool to make sure everybody is on the same page and can negotiate the terms. So if you click on a term on the grid that Rhonda showed you, and this one is an example of force majeure, you'd see not just the legal term that's included in the contract, and that's a little bit farther down on the screen that you'll see, but also questions and answers. So the Q&As really focus you on what the important aspects of that individual term are. And you'll see a series of videos. All the videos are bite-sized. They're 2 to 4 minutes. The first video will tell you what is force majeure, or what is indemnification, or what do you have to look out for in warranty. A second video would say, okay, if you want to review or revise some of these terms, here's how you might want to consider revisions. And a third video will show you how to frame the negotiation discussion so that you can still collaborate with the other side while protecting your interests. And that's because people consume content differently. This is not only a tool to pick up problems or risks or liabilities, but it's also to train everybody across your organization who touches contracts to make sure you're on the same page. Now, you'll see a little bit farther down, you see risk level. This one says it's high because it's force majeure from COVID. But you can customize this. There's a drop down. You can say that this is low or don't include this in the risk rating. There's a risk explanation. And if you go to the, Rhonda, if you go to the next slide, you'll also show that there are jurisdictional call outs. So for example, if you're in if you have a pay if paid, you want to know that that pay if paid is not only talking about the concept, but might be enforceable or not, depending upon what state you're in. So it'll give you state-based alerts on different terms as they come up. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see there's preferred language. Now, preferred language is optional with the solution. So not only do you get an analysis of the language that's there, but you can subscribe for preferred language, some fallback language if you don't get everything you want. And also, and this is important, you can put in your own organization's defined language so that you can gradually build up your own library and make sure that person A who is signing a contract is doing so with the same standards and the same knowledge base as person B who's signing the contract. And so that's extremely important. As Rhonda said, this is not priced by user or by seat because it's meant to be an institutional learning tool. Rhonda, I think you just in a minute or two, do you want to just go into portals?
Yeah, yep. So I mentioned earlier, just real quick on this, you have a secure portal that you can glean information from advisors. You can also share this with the other side, and it does differentiate between internal and external comments. So if you have an advisor that leaves something for your eyes only, it's never going to end up in any of the check change documents that get sent to the other side, because it actually is smart enough to identify those things that are marked as internal conversations versus those things that are intended for external comments to be shared with the external party. I mentioned that, output, we do have the ability, once you've captured any of your changes, so if you want to apply the preferred language, we that Elliot just mentioned, it will actually track all of those changes in a Word document for you and add in any of those external comments. There's also a summary preferred language report that's a great use for addendums in a contract if you're not actually redlining. So a couple different output as you're actually going through the negotiation process. Contract execution is actually something very brand new. And I did notice a couple folks that I think we've talked to before. This is something you've not seen. We do have plugins available. So you'll actually in execution lock down this document. It routes it for signature. And then so you're assured that when you're accessing this later, your project managers are accessing all those educational, they know exactly the last version of this contract, and then it routes it through DocuSign automatically from the system. And so you can do that without having to leave this. It will route it and allow you to take care of through DocuSign if you use that. Third-party scorecards, we do allow you to keep track of any of the scorecards for any of the folks that you work with, whether it be customers, subcontractors, whatnot. And this can be connected, as I mentioned, to other solutions, CRM, ERP, and as well as analytics. And so, if you dream it, you can have it. And I think that when you talk about analytics, I think more and more companies are embracing analytics for decision making. A lot of that being financial folks driving that. I think when you think about the different analytics, whether it be safety or financial, really some of the information that comes out of the contracts and that we're gathering here are some of those missing pieces. So we allow you to be kind of the clearinghouse, or if you have other analytics tools that you're already, we can feed this information into those. So in summary, this is the platform. It's a platform solution. This really covers all of these things. And so, there are other AI-only solutions out there. There are other contract management solutions out there. This can act as CRM and analytics, risk management. You really get all of this stuff. The word editing, comparing documents, all of this stuff along with the API connections is all part of that platform that we offer all in one spot, with our goal of helping your team get back to what they do best, and that is building, not spending countless hours, mulling over long contract documents. So I think we're going to open it up for Q&A quick. I know we're right at 3:30 now.
And what you're seeing in front of you is just a free contract checklist. If you'd like to, you can download it. There's no obligation or anything. I also put in the chat a rather long link. It's short on my computer, but a rather long link if you would like to schedule a call in order to go into the solution, ask specific questions for what it can do for your organization. That's in the chat, so feel free to click on that as well.
Yeah, it does look like Rod has a question. The Microsoft Dynamics does mean that there are built-ins to other Dynamics solutions. Those are very easy integrations. And so thanks for that question, Rod. If you had a further question on that, feel free to come off mute. But if anybody has any other questions, feel free to just come off mute and ask freely.
So I see a question, what about AIA docs? And I'm assuming that what that means is, does this handle AIA docs? And the answer is absolutely. This is document agnostic. So whether you're using AIA docs, whether you're using consensus docs, custom tailored home cooked documents, it absolutely handles them. So yes.
And I will just add quick to that, the OCR process that we have in place actually forces that process for any encryption. So some of the encryptions, those are not an issue. And generally speaking, unless it's a really terrible scan, the OCR does a really nice job of doing that conversion. So we've not had any issues. If it's a really terrible crooked scan and maybe a human would even have trouble reading it, then you might want to get a better document. But for the most part, there's been very little issue with the ability to actually convert documents.
And it can read most any format in response to Jeff's question, whether it's columnar or whether it's straight across. Rhonda, we've gotten a couple questions about the pricing model, which I'd ask you to address. The only other thing that says, will this video be made available so we can share it with our teams? Laura, I understand that's correct, that this video will be made available.
Yes, I'll be sending a follow-up email out to everyone on this call with the link to watch the video, and we'll also be posting it on the website as well.
So Rhonda, we had a couple questions on pricing model.
Yeah, absolutely. So our starting pricing is $5,000 for the contract manager solution. And then it starts for the preferred language library. There's a subscription for that starts out at $1,560. And so those are annual. Again, that's unlimited users and unlimited contracts, but that does scale. That is a starting point. We scale that based on, again, your size of your revenue, as well as the estimate of the number of contracts that you process. And so if you want to reach out, I'd love to have, I think the link has an intro call. Most of what we cover on the intro call kind of covered today, but we would go through some of those questions so that when we actually scheduled a in-person demo, live demo to show the solution to you in real time versus slides, we would be able to share pricing with you and your team at that point in time. If you want that before any commitment, send me a note, and my contact's all on the website as well. You can, I can get you pricing before you even take the next step too, but it's very, very affordable in terms of how we have scheduled our pricing out. Was there any other questions that came through there, Elliot?
No, let's see, you talked about the degree of sensitivity of OCR. Will the program read a contract locked by Adobe? Yes,
yeah, we can actually force through encryptions like that.
I think that answers all the questions, unless there are any more that people want to pose.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're all here. When we started this process 3 years ago, and I started talking about AI doing this type of document reading, it was really foreign to folks. And so I think that more and more of you are really understanding this is the way of the future. It's kind of like the internet back in the 90s, right, Elliot? I mean, I know you said that many times, is that now my 84-year-old mother can't go a day without being on the internet. But and the pace that we see this technology going, we've got some really cool things coming down the pike with document interrogation that gives you a secure, going back to the ChatGPT, secure way of doing those things. That's coming into just amazing how AI is just progressing very quickly. But
no, absolutely. So the question, can we add notes to the contracts? Yes, the answer is yes, you can add notes and comments that are internal to your team, and you can designate those that are external. And the reason we made that distinction is because, geez, I can't tell you the number of times as counsel I would write something to my client, giving them suggestions as far as what we should do. And I would tell them, please don't send this to the other side, but they of course send it to the other side. So this, you can designate not only make notes as Jeff had asked, but you can designate those as internal or external. I'm sorry, I'm looking off screen. I'm looking at the questions. So,
and the process for doing that is merely when you're typing it to address whether it's internal or external. So you never have to go back and delete those. That's one thing, all due respect, Elliot, it's kind of painful to have to go back and delete all of those your internal.
Yes, it is.
It actually, when you generate an executed document, or excuse me, a marked up document, you have an option of having one that has internal and external for your internal purposes, but the one that actually is created to route to the other party only has those external comments and the track changes.
So the question about identifying state-specific laws. So the contract, the solution does come up with and give you jurisdictional alerts. So it will say, okay, well, you've got to pay if paid. You might want to, and the governing law is Michigan. You might want to check, here's the Michigan statute that pertains to it. It does not give you an assessment, yes, your contract is, or no, your contract is not compliant with those state laws, because A, the state laws change very frequently in terms of nuance and case law, and B, we don't want to supplant the legal advice that you would be getting from in-house counsel, et cetera. So we do make you aware that state laws may impact, and this is how they may impact, and these are the references. But this is where the human part comes in, and you have to determine whether this makes a difference to you or whether or not you're compliant, because it's shades of gray. How does the system determine recommended language? The recommended language does not come from AIA or consensus or anything else. The recommended language comes from me and my team. That's what first rule contract training does. It's based on my 35 years as a construction lawyer working all over the country. And so you not only have the benefit of that, which is not tied to AIA or consensus, it's completely platform agnostic. And it gives you recommended as well as fallback. And then, of course, you can choose your own organizational language, and that becomes part of your system through the solution.
Yeah, and I will add, we just made an enhancement where you can actually capture, if this is a recurring customer and you previously negotiated it, you can capture that and you'll have that as available. So you'd have all your preferred language as well as that right at your fingertips when you're reviewing that contract for that particular term. One thing I'll note on that, because I don't know if we really were specific, all of the videos, all of the contract coach and the preferred language are also dependent on whether you are the general contractor or subspecialty contractor. So it really is from your specific viewpoint. And if you happen to change hats and normally you're a GC and suddenly you find yourself in a sub type position on a job, that can be done still on a contract and project specific basis.
Right. We wanted to make sure, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I knew I'd forgotten something in rushing through it. We wanted to make sure that it was specific to your role, because obviously language which you would prefer as a subcontractor differs because your interests differ from language you might prefer as a general contractor. So it understands and will give you specific comment to your role on the project.
There are all of the tools that we mentioned too are available to your project manager. So hence I mentioned that earlier with our subscription base, but the educational tools that we've gotten are huge. And Elliott and First Rule, we focused a lot on Contract Manager here, but First Rule has full trainings that they offer, many for project managers that I will tell you, they're very entertaining. Elliott is very engaging and funny. You know, we've had great feedback, as I know he has on his First Rule content, but Contract Coach, you know, making that easily accessible while they're out in the field, as well as cheat sheets. If they don't have access to a computer, you can print and make custom reports for your project managers or anybody else in finance or otherwise, to be able to get at exactly what they need from that contract without having to dig through hundreds of pages.
Yeah, I think at this point there are about 230 some odd videos on the solution, and we're adding them all the time. So there's it's pretty robust on the training and education side as well. And as Rhonda mentioned, I think Laura mentioned this as well, both First Rule and Crowe are Affinity partners, which means that anyone from CFMA who purchases either First Rule training or Contract Manager has an immediate 10% discount because it's through CFMA. I think that we're hitting the end of our time. Let's see, there are a couple other questions on here that might be better for a separate call, because I'm not sure I understand them. You know, how does it respond to references in other contract documents that are not currently provided? I mean, it'll pick up the term. So if the term is indemnification and it says subject to the general conditions section XXX, and you don't have the general conditions uploaded, it'll still pick up that term that says subject to the conditions. And so it'll alert you that, well, you're going to have to evaluate whether those general conditions contain something that should be included in the risk rating. So it'll alert you to it, but it obviously can't review anything or include it in a risk analysis unless you upload it.
There are some prompts in the system as you work through that workflow that actually ask you, have you uploaded all the contract documents, and allows you to kind of stop your team to think through those things too.
So if we don't have any more questions, I know we went a little bit over, but I think hearing the answers to the questions was really helpful for everyone. So I want to thank Rhonda and Elliot for the presentation today. It was a lot of information. And I want to thank you all for sticking with us. As I said, I will send a follow-up email out with the link to this recording later this week. I'll also include their contact information. So if you have specific questions that didn't get addressed today, you can send them over to Rhonda and Elliot to have them answered. If you have a question in the meantime and you don't have their contact information handy, you can just email it to membership@cfma.org and we'll send it their way. Our next session of the member benefit Zoom series will be held in December. We will send you details and registration information as we get a little closer to that date. Until then, as always, feel free to reach out to the membership department if you have any questions. And thank you again, Elliot and Rhonda, and thank you all for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
you
See
very
you
much.
later.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.